Hey, so we are going to be continuing with reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead today, and we are going to read it for 15 minutes. And the timer starts now. In the Buddha's view, therefore, it is the nature of our habitual tendencies that generates our future existence, driven by the natural law of cause and effect. Further, when we observe the patterns of arising and subsiding that underlie the dynamic nature of physical environment, the cycle of days and nights and the passing of the seasons, for example, and we observe how matter arises from insubstantial subatomic particles, and we look at the patterns of causal connectedness in the arising and dissolution of our mental experiences from moment to moment across the differing phases of deep sleep, dream, and our waking state. The notion of continuity of consciousness can come to be seen to be in accord with both the nature of our environment and the nature of our mental experiences. Certainly, it has often been argued that one advantage of accepting the notion of continuity of consciousness is that it gives us a more profound ability to understand and to explain the nature of our existence and of the universe. In addition, this notion of continuity and causal interconnectedness reinforces a sense of consequences for our own actions in terms of both the impact on ourselves and the impact on others and the environment. So in summary, when considering the notion of continuity of consciousness, we must bear in mind that there are many different levels of greater or lesser subtlety in the states of consciousness. For example, we know, of course, that certain qualities of sensory perception are dependent on the physical constitution of the individual, and that when the physical body dies, the states of consciousness associated with these sensory perception also cease. But although we know that the human body serves as a condition for human consciousness, the question still remains: what is the nature of the underlying factor or essence that accounts for our experience of consciousness as having the natural quality of numinosity and awareness? Finally, when considering the interrelationship between mind, body, and the environment at subtle levels, we know that material things are composed of cells, atoms, and particles, and that consciousness is composed of moments. That is to say that mind and matter have distinctly different natures and therefore different substantial causes. material thing comes into being based on other material entities such as particles, atoms, and cells. And the mind comes into being based on a previous moment of mind, which is something that is luminous and has the capacity to be aware. Each moment of awareness, therefore, depends on a previous moment of awareness as its cause. This is the reasoning upon which Buddhist logic asserts that there is, at the level of subtle mind and subtle wind, a beginning, less continuum of mind and matter. A beginningless continuum of mind and matter. It is through reflection on above themes, the law of cause and effect, dependent origination, the dynamic of our environment, of our physical environment, and based on our analysis of the nature of mind, the mode of the arising and subsiding of thoughts, the shifts in the modalities of our consciousness between deep sleep, dream, and our waking state, etc. That the notion of continuity of consciousness may first become established as relevant to the understanding of our current condition. Once the notion of this continuity has been confirmed through reflection and experience, then it becomes logical to prepare oneself for death and for future existences. Now, as to the nature of the actual preparation itself, this will depend on each individual's path of spiritual aspiration. For example, if an individual is simply seeking a favorable rebirth as a human being, there's no need to engage in a sophisticated meditative path related to the processes of death and rebirth. Simply to live a virtuous life is seen as sufficient. Similarly, in the case of those who are seeking personal liberation from conditioned existence, and also in the case of those whose practice is confined to the sutra level of the Mahayana path, their meditative practice will be limited to ensuring the attainment of successive forms of existence that will be conducive to the continuation of their journey towards enlightenment. For these three kinds of individuals, no actual techniques for utilizing the time of death as an essential element of the spiritual path have been set down in the classical Buddhist literature. Nevertheless, since the understanding of the processes of death, the intermediate state, and rebirth are crucial to our understanding of the nature of existence, we do find extensive discussions of these three processes, even in the texts which relate to the aspirations of these three kinds of persons. It is exclusively in Tantra, however, and particularly in highest Yoga Tantra, that the methods of utilizing the processes of death, the intermediate state, and rebirth are specifically taught as the basis for achieving liberation from cyclic existence. These methods involve the development of a skillful relationship with certain experiential stages that an individual actually induces with the intention of enhancing spiritual realization and the fruition of their capacities as a human being. Generally speaking, the practices of highest yoga tantra present a spiritual path which enables the individual to attain complete Buddhahood within a single lifetime, prior to the moment of death. Yet for those who are unable to achieve this, it becomes crucial to use the transformative opportunities offered by the naturally occurring processes of death, the intermediate state, and rebirth. Hence, in highest yoga tantra, it is not merely the preparation for a more developed future rebirth which is important, but of more fundamental significance is the personal preparation for using one's own death and subsequent states as a means of achieving liberation. In the literature of highest yoga tantra, as I have mentioned, the three realms of conditioned existence into which a human being may be born are described in terms of differing expressions of modalities of energy. And it is said that our fundamental ignorance is the root of conditioned existence, and that karmic energy is its activating force. Further, from the Tantra perspective, death, the intermediate state, and rebirth are also seen as nothing other than differing modalities of karmic energy. The point at which the gross levels of energy are completely dissolved, and only the subtle energies remain in death, is death. The stage at which these energies unfold into a more manifest form is the intermediate state, and the stage at which and the state at which and the stage at which and the stage at which they eventually manifest substantially, and the stage at which they eventually manifest substantially is called rebirth. Thus, all three stages are differing manifestation of energy. Based on this understanding, since death is the state where all gross levels of energy and consciousness have been dissolved, and only the subtle energies and consciousness remain, it is possible for an advanced yogin to meditatively induce a state which is almost identical to the actual experience of death. This can be achieved because it is possible to meditatively bring about the dissolution of the gross levels of energy and consciousness. When such a task is accomplished, the meditator gains an enormous potential to progress definitively in his or her spiritual practice. For at the stage when the experience of fundamental inner radiance is genuinely affected through such a method, the yogin gains the capacity to actualize the illusory body of meditation deity, thus ensuring the realization of perfect Buddhahood in this lifetime. This achievement of perfect Buddhahood entails the actualization of the three dimensions of the bodies or bodies of Buddha. These fruition, this fru, this fruitional body are these fruitional bodies are related both to our ultimate natural state and to our emanational qualities of full enlightenment. I'm gonna finish this paragraph before we dip, okay? Emanational energy. These fruitional bodies are related both to our ultimate natural state and to the and to the emanational qualities of full enlightenment. Interestingly, we see exactly the same pattern of dimensions in our ordinary existence. Death is the point at which both the physical and mental fields dissolve into inner radiance, and where both consciousness and energy exist at their most subtle, non-dual level, as in deep sleep. This mode in its fruitional state is the Buddha body of reality, the Dharmakaya. Then, from within this essential or natural state, one enters into the intermediate state, where although there's perceptual experience, the phenomenal forms are comparatively subtle and non-substantive, as in a dream. This mode in its fruitional state is the Buddha body of perfect resource. Sambhogakaya. Then, this state one assumes a grosser physical existence, culminating in actual rebirth, as in our normal waking experience. This mode in its fruitional state is the Buddha body emanation. Thus, we see a direct parallel between the three natural states of our existence and the three dimensions of a fully enlightened being. Alright. I think today's progress has been okay. I stutter a lot and I mispronounce so many words, and I'm still trying to find a natural flow to the narration. But yeah, Rome wasn't built in one day. So yeah. Peace.